This is Lux and Lens. For the single moms choosing growth over guilt, power over pain, and purpose over pressure. Raw conversations, real stories, no filters. Let's begin. Hi everyone, welcome back to Lux and Lens. We are so glad that you are here. Thank you again for your support, for listening in, for watching the YouTube videos. Just a reminder that the podcast goes up on a Sunday evening at 7 and our YouTube recording goes up on a Wednesday evening at 7. So we will see you there. We look forward to your comments. We are loving your support. We are loving your interaction. So thank you so much. Today is quite a deep and heavy one, and I think there's going to be lots revealed from both Courtney and myself. And so yes, let's get into it. This is the wounded versus the healed, masculine and feminine energy. And again, I think the point to drive home is this is not a girl versus boys. This is not a male versus female. This is an internal battle between the energies that have been given these masculine and feminine characteristics. So it is not necessarily man versus woman, but definitely it is characteristic versus characteristic. And I think that's probably the nicest way to do it. So get yourself settled in. There might even be a few tears. So brace yourselves, get the tissues ready, and I'm going to hand it over to Courtney. Hello, my darling friend.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, and you, Ash?
Well, thank you. I'm a bit nervous for this one. I won't lie. I think it's a hectic one. It really
Yeah, it is.
one. And I think it is going to bring up a lot of history and wounds and the like. But it's also good to recognize those so that the healing can begin.
I think this is such an important point to note, Ash, is that a lot of people don't want to deal with their wounds. I, for a large portion of my life, was a brush it under the carpet person. I would want to just keep peace at all costs, and I would just brush every trauma, every wound, every insecurity under the carpet and pretend it just doesn't exist. And unfortunately, as you get older, those wounds actually start to fester. And that is why, again, and I keep saying, I feel like a stuck record actually, is introspection and journaling and understanding yourself, And I think we spend so much time trying to get to know other people, but we never actually take the time to get to know ourselves and why we are the way that we are, why we react the way that we do. We don't even actually take the Band-Aid off to look at what's happening with the wound. And I'm talking obviously of internal wounds, not actual wounds. Same topic. But we tend to just try and make it disappear. Doesn't exist. But I think how I want to start this podcast, I think, is to just reel back a little bit and talk about the effects of social media and how they negatively affect our masculine and feminine energies within ourselves, but then also in how we communicate and deal with people in general, but then also in relationships and how it can affect those relationships. For example, social media simplifies the masculine and feminine energy so much that it's like the feminine is all soft life vibes and this cushiness, this extreme cushiness. And then the masculine is this hard, dominant, tattoos, big beards vibes. And it's just so warped in its message. And I think this is the danger of social media, is that there's so much BS on there that people are failing to see the wood from the trees in multiple aspects of social media and life in general. And I actually feel sorry for the children coming up in this day and age that have such easy and constant accessibility to social media, because it's so warped and fake and incorrect in its messages to us, but especially to the youth, because that is what they're seeing as a reality, which is so not the case. And of course, social media doesn't come with disclaimers.
No. But I think what the biggest problem there is as well is as soon as they hit teenager, because there is a developmental kind of phase that children go through. So when mom
Mm.
is their be all and end all up to a certain age, then it becomes dad, then it becomes friends. And
Yes.
especially with the advent of like COVID coming into the thing and everybody now turning to online, I don't know that
Mm.
that's actually, we've whittled that out of the system yet. So their friend base, often the boys are playing games. They're playing games with their friends online, but they're still online. And so,
Yeah.
and also, moms have to work, especially single moms, we have to work. So we're not always at our peak energy and we're not always there to have those conversations with our children.
Mm.
So social media, unfortunately, is their educator a lot of the time.
Yes.
And that is scary.
I want to have a podcast one of these days on the dangers of social media.
Okay.
There's so much to unpack on social media. So we definitely have to jot that down for another month.
Right now.
but um but yeah, Ash, I think I just want to reiterate that our discussions on masculine and feminine energy is not a gender war. We're not even talking male and female here. We're talking about the balance, like we did in our previous episode, the balance of masculine and feminine in each person, and the importance of that. And on that topic, I would love to find out from you as a professional photographer, when you are capturing people in shoots, if you can see that energy and which is more dominant within the person that you are photographing, and if you can see any shifts in the energy through your shoot time, and if you can visualize the difference between a healed and a wounded masculine feminine.
I wouldn't really know about the healed because I don't spend enough time with them, to be very honest.
Mm,
But
mm,
I have noticed healing when a person sees their images. So to answer
mm,
the first part of the question, when a client walks into the studio, and it's actually very, very interesting. If I take a family, so when a family comes into my studio or comes in front of my camera, you've got the mom who's faffing. She's making sure the children are okay. She's telling me all the disasters that happened beforehand. She's explaining and apologizing for her husband because he doesn't actually want to be there, and you can see he's a little bit grumpy. It's so you get that type of energy. She's panicking. She's getting all her ducks in a row. So she's
mm.
hoarding and she's fluffing and she's preening. And whereas the male will come in, he is a little bit agitated or whatever, but then he takes control. And I found it so interesting that he will now come in and say, I don't want to be here. And by the end of the photo shoot, he's telling me how he wants to be photographed and posed. And it basically happens all the time. Or they hide behind humor, which is also another
Yes.
very, very interesting.
Yes.
I also noticed like when a woman comes in for corporate branding, for example, she'll come in and again tell me everything that she doesn't like about herself. That I find
Mm.
quite interesting. Or she'll again, please make sure I look like this. I need it for this, this, this. And you can see that the male coming out, organize, 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 or this is what I need. This is, and so I will then adapt to that to be able to switch it, to get it to actually be her in the shoot. And
That's so interesting.
yeah, you can actually watch them come out of their shell, and by the end of the photo shoot, they are walking lighter, they are confident, they tell me how much fun they've had, and you can definitely see that kind of energy shift. The other thing that I've noticed is like the one client that I had, she came and she had her hair and makeup done before her photos, and while she was doing that, again, the verbal comes out because the nerves are talking rather than the brain.
Mm.
And she was telling me how awful her previous photos were, and she was now very stressed because she didn't know if it was her or if it was the photographer. And I actually watched her entire demeanor shut down as we got closer to the time of her photo shoot. So
Sure.
then when I did her reveal session with her, you could tell she was beside herself with nerves. She actually didn't know what to do with herself. And she actually joked and said, I've got shots of tequila sitting in front of me just in case. And during that session, or that reveal session, she actually burst into tears saying, I'm so relieved it wasn't me, it was the photographer. So she loved her photos that much that she suddenly realized she is beautiful, she is real. And photography is, it's actually a scary tool, because you can either destroy a person or you can build a person up by putting that mirror in front of them. So, I have gone to great lengths to make sure that I do try and create a calming energy, and that I do pose my subjects, bend them, manipulate them in the best light, so that they do see their true selves. So I think that answers your question. So yes, I do see those energies coming through. But as to watching healing and such, I can't answer that, because I don't actually spend enough time with the client.
That makes sense. But I think what you're saying, what's so interesting is that, when energy is wounded, it distorts. And when it's healed, it leads. And it sounds like that's what you actually see when people come, into your studio, is that you can see those that are distorting their version of reality, and those that are just coming in and leading through into it. Like you said, the women that come in and they're like, I want this, and I want it to look like that. You can see that she doesn't have that insecurity with where she's at, or, that wound of whatever it is, there's no insecurity in coming into the studio. But, I think also, and another huge topic is self-perception. And that's one of the things that I love about having shoots with you personally, is that my self-perception is far weaker than what I actually appear.
Okay.
So I don't know if that makes sense. Okay. So I see myself less than where people see me more than. And so whenever I have a shoot with you, I actually see that more than. Whereas before I have the shoot and people just say stuff to me, I'm like, are these people like over exaggerating? Or, I'll like doubt myself in certain aspects. And then when I have a shoot with you, I'm like, wow, look at me. And then you, like, I remember one shoot specifically, you showed me a picture of myself and you were like, and I haven't even edited. And I was like, wow, how did you make me look like that?
I did.
You're like, well, you look like that. And I was like, no way.
Yeah.
But that's the most amazing thing, is when you feel comfortable in yourself. And I think that's such a beautiful thing that you do, is you're able to make people feel comfortable within themselves. And it's such a beautiful gift to have. And then for them to be able to look back and see themselves. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about somebody seeing their pictures and getting emotional. I mean, that's the most beautiful thing, is for somebody to actually see themselves for who they are, and not that poor perception of themselves that they carry. And I think that, again, that's wounded feminine. That is wounded feminine. You're not seeing yourself for the queen and the beautiful human being that you are,
Yeah.
So
it is a powerful thing. And then watching somebody actually, because when you look in the mirror, you see a certain version of yourself.
Absolutely.
But it's never what, then you try and think, oh, well, I can take the selfie, and it's never the same, but with the right lighting and the right equipment and such, it can be, because that is you, it really, really is you. And if you can create the confidence, if you can create an environment that gives a person the confidence to be who they are in front of that mirror, even when they are scolding themselves, you've done your makeup nicely, you do walk differently, and you do hold your head up differently. So
absolutely,
I get to show that. Yes.
I love it. So then I think moving on to the next point is maybe we can discuss a little bit what the wounded masculine actually looks like, in real life, in ourselves.
Yes.
And I think the first point is control, ultimately. It's that needing to be in complete control of outcomes, of situations, of friend groups, of your family, of your work environment. So like everything is that desperate need for control and dominance.
Definitely.
You know, and where you're micromanaging the people around you and micromanaging situations. That is definitely characteristics of wounded masculine.
Mm. Do you see that
And
in
then the
yourself?
next, oh yeah, myself,
Mm.
1000%. I
Likewise.
definitely am a bit of a control freak,
Oh,
and I
absolutely.
do tend to micromanage. But I also have an extreme chronic fear of failure.
Yes, so do I.
And so I will micromanage like you cannot believe. I even irritate myself. I can micromanage so well.
You
Um,
micromanage your micromanagement.
I micromanage the micromanaging.
Oh no, I so get that. And I think that's one of the reasons that I couldn't work for anybody, because you can't control me the way I can control me. And I need to
Yeah.
control everything here. So I can't like control your workstation to make sure mine is okay. So I
Mm.
had to get out and work for myself, because at least I can control me. And trust me, I am the hardest flipping boss ever.
You know, another very dangerous point of the wounded masculine in control is the need to try and control outcomes.
Yes, yes.
So you want to control the outcomes in whether you're trying to build a relationship with someone, or you are wanting to save up for something, or you know, it's that ultra obsession with controlling outcomes of things that are actually not in your control. It drives you crazy. It will
Yes,
drive
it
you
does.
absolutely mental.
Oh, it does.
Mm.
Believe me, I've tried many
Yeah,
times.
no. I think all of us do that to some extent, especially when you see something that you really want
Mm,
and you don't want to let it go. You kind of want to push and control the outcome of that situation or item, whatever the case is. That it's actually very self-destructive. So
yes.
I think when you do start to see these wounded aspects of your masculine, you do definitely need to sit down with yourself and ask yourself a few questions. But going on, so that's under control. And moving on to the next point is that aggression,
Mm,
you know, where it will present as like anger that's masked for fear. So you're actually fearful, but you are becoming angry or expressing anger, as opposed to sitting with that fear, understanding where it stems from, and then dealing with it more logically. It just comes out as this extreme anger and outburst. And then a big thing, and this is common in men, we will know, is emotional shutdown.
mhm.
Women battle to have that emotional shutdown, but this does fall under aggression. And it's that you shut off emotionally in situations, in relationships, and you lose that element of empathy, which is really dangerous as a human, to lose your compassionate, empathetic aspect of yourself, because then you obviously affect how you connect with people, in relationships, in work, you know, relationships as a whole. I'm not talking romantic relationships
Mm,
only. And then obviously that mentality of I don't need anyone and I'm strong enough on my own. And, you know, it's almost like, and again, it stems to that fear of not having anyone to back you, is you have that ultra aggressive mentality of, well, I don't need anyone anyway. When actually we are humans, we are made to be with each other
correct, yes.
and have support systems and have community. And so to try and make yourself an island when we're not programmed or designed to be islands is
Yes.
very dangerous.
Yeah. I also think my dog is just disappearing with my shoe. I think it actually does boil down to control. I need to control my shoe. I think it does boil down to control at the end of the day, because if you think about it, if I'm not in control, I'm going to get aggressive. If I'm not in control and can't manage the situation, I'm going to start shutting down because you're not listening to me, and I can't get what I need and what I want. And
Yes.
so, yes, I think right at the back, at the end of all of that, to me, control sounds like the biggest driving factor in all of it. It really does.
Absolutely. And it also goes to this and this is a new thing also that social media pants all the time, is hustle at all costs.
Mm,
You know,
mm.
that's a masculine wound that is pushing people to feel like they've got to hustle at all costs, which means that your identity starts to, attach to your productivity. Like, I'm only this amazing person if I can do this much.
And I'll only be successful if I push, push, push and drain myself and destroy myself
Exactly.
eternity. Yeah.
Exactly. And this then stems, and through this, it's you land up with burnout that's
Yeah.
disguised as ambition. You are literally burnt out, but oh no, I'm super ambitious. Or, or people might even say, oh, you're super ambitious, and then you feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to keep going, because now your identity is attached to this ultra hustle mode. And a big disease in society at the moment is believing that your worth is attached or dependent on what you've achieved in
True.
life.
Yeah.
And shame, I really feel sorry for men actually in this aspect, is that a lot of them feel that their worth is based only on what their income is and very little on anything else. And I think often as women, we don't actually think about that aspect of their emotional makeup, is that they sometimes feel that their only worth is based on what they can provide materialistically.
Yeah.
And that's another point for another day as well. I think that's a long one.
Okay.
So I think all these characteristics of the wounded masculine will present themselves in women as that hyper independent woman, the woman that just gets everything done, seems to be okay all the time, never needs anyone, never asks for help, declines help,
Won't accept help. Yes.
Wink,
Yeah.
wink,
Yeah.
wink.
Raise your hand if you might be no one of them or be one of them. And then, Court, how does the wounded feminine present?
Gosh. So the wounded feminine is that victim mentality. So it will be the woe is me, I need to be saved. Always kind of waiting to be saved. It also, the victim mentality is also around not accepting or taking accountability, but rather blaming for all circumstances and situations. And also why is this happening to me? Why am I always the one with bad luck? Why me? Woe is me. It's that victim mentality. That's a wounded feminine. And then the over dependence. So like a fear of making decisions on your own, or seeking validation for everything that you choose or want or need. You want validation from people. Constant validation around appearance, constant validation around being a good mom or a good wife or a good friend. It's that constant seeking of validation, as well as self-abandonment. So abandoning yourself to keep peace. Okay. And I'm very guilty of that. I self-sabotage and self-sacrifice like all the time. I think I've discussed this already in a previous
Yes.
episode.
Yeah.
But so that's the victim mentality. And then we go, sorry, that was the victim mentality. Then we spoke about the over dependence, eh?
Yes, correct.
And then it's manipulation, which us women are masters at, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
But it is also, like I said, we're not talking gender roles here. This is in men and women. So men that had wounded feminine will also, play out some of these characteristics. And you do find men that are very manipulative. So it's not gender wars here.
But
It's our
I've always found it very interesting that stereotyping is stereotyping for a reason. Nobody just came up and said with a little wand, this is what we're going to do and this is what we're going to do. There's
exactly
always an underlying reason as to why stereotyping happens, because it is unfortunately common.
exactly.
So women
No,
being manipulative, it does make
common.
sense.
So how manipulation will present is in indirect communication. So like where you're just trying to drop hints here and there that are not clear messages, okay? As well as your passive aggressive communication. So instead of just being direct, you start to get sarcastic, or you'll say passive aggressive comments like, oh, that was really stupid of you, wasn't it?
Yes.
Like you're basically telling someone you're so stupid, like what's wrong with you? But you're making it like it's a joke, like trying to tone it down. But they get the message.
Sometimes men don't, because hints and stuff just don't work. You have to be direct with them, because otherwise they don't understand.
But also I think some men are, and I wish I could be, but some men are literally immune to manipulation. Like you can stand on your head and they will not fall for it.
I have a son like that.
I love it. I love it so much. Good for him.
Oh
And
my
he's going to
gosh.
have a much easier life for it. But yeah, I think also some people, and it's sometimes that it stems from their own traumas, that they have no reaction to manipulation because they might have had a very manipulative parent, that when they see that behavior come out in a partner, they shut down.
I've been there, done
It's
that.
emotional disconnect.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not listening to this banshee right now, because they've built up that wall to protect themselves from that type of behavior.
Yes, true.
And another form of manipulation is that testing instead of expressing. Mm-hmm. So you're testing how someone's going to respond before you express what you're feeling or where you're at or what you need or want. You'll rather test before expressing, which is manipulation, but it's dangerous. And it's also to an extent self-sabotaging, because you're not being direct about what you need sometimes, or how you feel.
Do you also find that doing something like that, where you're testing it, means that you're running all the scenarios in your mind? Now, if the outcome doesn't match the scenario, and again, it boils down to control. So
absolutely,
wounded, whether you're masculine or feminine energy, all seems to boil down to control. Whereas if somebody is healed or nicely balanced, it sounds, what I'm understanding is that it would sound like, let the cards fall where they may, but I know that I'm confident within myself that I can actually rise above that, or I'll know how I'll handle it.
Yes.
I'm okay with what happens, and I just need to be me within that situation, either step away or deal with the cards that are handed, but without being passive about it.
Yeah. I think, and I think this is the important thing, is that you've always got to take a step back and see the situation from all angles. Everybody's got different past traumas. Everybody's got different wounds, and also different healed versions of themselves that you need to actually take a step back and say, like, where is this person possibly coming from? And how do I need to react to this in an authentic way to me, who I am, but also understanding that they have their own wounds that I just need to be cognizant of, and make sure that you're not trying to manipulate people or over control outcomes or situations, but rather let people be authentically themselves within your space, and where you remain authentically yourself in that space as well. And if it so happens to work, amazing. And if it doesn't, it doesn't.
And you've
you
learned
know, and it's not a train smash. It's not the end of the world. The world will still be there tomorrow. And I think that's the important thing to understand. And I love this one quote that I saw somewhere that said, whatever's meant for you will not miss you.
Yes.
Or pass you.
Yeah.
You won't miss it.
Yeah.
And I think, although I also believe you've got to be very aware of opportunities that come up and people that pass through your path, but don't be over controlling about it. Don't be obsessive. Don't try and control outcomes. Let things fall as they may, with your best efforts at the forefront.
Yes.
And that's the best that you can do. And if it doesn't work out when you've presented yourself in your most authentic way, giving your most genuine energy into that space, whatever it is, then it was never meant for you, and you've got to let it go. But just touching on the last point that I had for the wounded feminine, would be, and this is a very important one for that falls under manipulation, is the withholding of affection for control. And this is very damaging with romantic partners and with your children. Because it creates massive childhood trauma in children when you withhold your love or affection from them as a form of punishment. And in relationships, it creates a breakdown of, number one, connection, number two, trust, and number three, it's you breaking that, because in a romantic relationship, you have an energetic bond with that person. You've connected on multiple levels that intertwine you with that person on multiple levels, other than just two people next to each other. You are entwined in every sense. And when you start withholding your affection to try and control them or control behaviors, or I don't even know what else people would try and control through this.
Behavior, situation.
Yes. Or just where somebody almost falls at your feet. Like, who wants that? Do you know what I mean? You want to have two strong individuals that are there to love and support each other, build each other up, without breaking each other down or damaging each other in the process. And I think that's a healed version will see things in that aspect, as opposed to saying, well, I'm going to break this person down as much as I can, make them beg for my affection so that I have control over this situation, or over the outcome of this situation. Did I just repeat myself? Sorry.
No.
I think but yeah, you know what I'm saying. I think it's just it's manipulation is a very, 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 very dangerous and horrible characteristic. It damages both people. And I think sometimes the manipulator doesn't realize the extent of the damage, or even the extent of their manipulation to try and gain for themselves. And I think that's a very important reflection point, is when you are feeling wounded or attacked, what do you tap into, and how do you show up in those situations?
That's a good introspective journal prompt, eh?
Very much so. Very much so. Because I think we all have, I mean, I can tick most of the things that I've said in both wounded feminine and masculine. And so I think it's so important, because when you introspect and you understand how you respond and how you're behaving and how you treat situations, scenarios, people, you can correct it by doing that self work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the hard part. So how do we do that work?
I think everybody's different. I think people have to find what it is that makes them feel at peace. Where's your safe space where you can introspect and reflect on yourself? I think that's the most important thing. And again, going back to journaling, but it's not that everyday journaling. Like, I don't have time for that. I've said already in the previous
No.
episode,
Yeah.
it's like, I literally will say, okay, this came up. This is bugging me. Let me do some introspection. Get a glass of wine, sit outside on the veranda, listen to the birds chirping, maybe even some music in the background. And I sit there with my pretty pens and I say, okay, let's dissect this and let's get to the bottom of it, and let's see where I could have been at fault, or where maybe somebody else was at fault, or if there's some opportunity that I feel is not working in my favor. Why am I hanging on to it? How did I maybe play a part in me not getting that opportunity? Or what could I do differently? Is it really something that's aligned with me? You just ask yourself all these kinds of questions to just give yourself a bit of peace of mind, but also a good understanding of who you are and where you want to go in your life. I think is the most important, outcomes that you want from journaling, is being able to say, okay, I see it now and I know where I want to go next. And I'm ready to let that go. I'm ready to let that go or that person go.
Yeah. I also do it where it's like, either I'll go for a walk, leave the phone at home and the music and everything and just head out for a walk. The other thing is if you're battling to kind of say, try and work out who you are, pretend you're interviewing yourself. If that was a person sitting in front of you, to get to the bottom of X, Y, or Z, what questions would you ask them? And then write those answers down. That's also a nice way, because that can then detach you from the behavior or from the situation enough to be able to get you to the bottom of that situation or behavior. So that is something that I've often done, is kind of said, well, if this was a friend, or if I was out walking with a buddy, what questions would I ask, or how would I help them figure this out? And then ask those questions.
Does it ever shock you that you give your friends or strangers more grace than you give yourself?
I wouldn't say it shocks me, but it makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Yes.
We are a lot more forgiving to everybody else but ourselves. We really, really are.
And why? Like, why?
I don't know. Maybe that's a question for Mr. GPT. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's such a like, I'll often think to myself, like, if I had to give someone else advice on this situation that's bugging me, I would be like, oh, that's rubbish. Let it go. It's not even significant in your life. But then when it's myself, I'm like, I'll beat myself up to a pulp on it,
Maybe
and then you ask yourself, like, why?
Or maybe it's because we are too emotionally invested within ourselves. We feeling it. Whereas if somebody else is exhibiting, even though we feel their pain to an extent, we're not living it. So therefore,
Yes.
we can be the third party objective. Maybe that's got something to do with it. And maybe that's why,
Yeah, I think because we would
like
have no emotional connection or control to that situation. That I think that's where emotions do come in the way. Hey,
yes, yeah.
but
I think that's why a place like this is so important, and also having those female friends that you can turn to, and that you can go and grab a glass of wine with, go and have a coffee with, or whatever, and have those discussions, even if it is just a distraction from the situation for a short amount of time, that gives your subconscious mind a chance to settle. And then you can go back to the situation with a clear mind. Talk about dirt road.
We love dirt roads. We love dirt roads. Okay, Google Maps, get us back on track. So I think, just in closing, I think it would be nice to summarize, what the the healed masculine looks like and what the healed feminine looks like. So the healed masculine would provide structure without control and protects without possession or being possessive, overly possessive, and leads without the overboard domination and acts calmly with clarity.
How many
And
people
I think
like that?
yeah, very few,
Exactly.
very few.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just shows that so many people are battling wounded masculine and feminine, but also wounded inner child. And then I think like the healed feminine would be receiving without guilt. Are we good at that? No, we are not.
No, sadly, no. We're learning. We're learning. We are learning.
Then I think also feeling without drowning and creating without chaos.
And without that hustle, because nobody can
Exactly.
create if your brain is thinking about 8 million things at a time. You
You
can't.
cannot.
And
You
as a
cannot.
creative person, I always used to joke and say, I get headaches because I've always felt that my logic and my creative.
Mm.
Now, you could also put that to the masculine and the feminine. My logic is my masculine, my
Yes.
creative is my feminine. And I
Feminine.
always used to joke that because they're so almost exact, I used to get headaches because they were fighting for position as to which one was going to control my thoughts at the time.
Yes.
But I've also noticed, if I've got stuff that's going on, I cannot be creative. I really, really can't. And I literally have to shut down, take myself out of that, put myself into the creative space and put it all into my organizer or into my diary and say, I will deal with that tomorrow. Those are the things that I've dealt with now. Those are the things I can do tomorrow. And now I can be creative. And yeah, it's the one can't live with the other. So this huge big hustle, burn yourself out it's so damaging because of that. If you're doing that, you have not got the space to be creative. You've not got the space to be that feminine. You can't.
But it's also
can't.
It's being in that ultra survival mode also puts you in it. And I think that's what people don't realize when you become a single mom is that you hit that survival mode so hard and so fast. And if you don't have your ducks in a row or you've got some pigeons in between, it honestly, it becomes complete chaos. And it's so hard to pull yourself out of that and say, okay, let's just reevaluate this line of flying objects and take out the pigeons and get the ducks back together. It's very, very difficult to do that.
Yeah.
Because like you say, you're in that complete overdrive. You can't come up with creative ideas. You kind of just in ultra survival, emotional shutdown. Let's just get to point B in one piece, And so I hear that completely.
Yeah.
But I think even women that are married can experience that in terms of like if you're going through financial strain or your marriage is strained through a period of time, you can also hit that wobble where you experience these same kind of feelings that we're expressing here. I don't think it's only for single moms at all. But just bringing to the last point of a healed feminine would be to trust your intuition, but still be able to take action and, and without procrastination. Because I think also the wounded feminine loves to procrastinate. But a healed feminine will still trust intuition, but continue to take action and move forward in a more positive way.
Yeah. Gosh, it really has been a deep one, hey?
Yeah. Luckily not as emotional as we thought.
Yes.
But it's a lot of I think this whole topic is very introspective. I think it's something that people actually have to sit down with and dissect for themselves. And I think on that, they probably, the listeners would find themselves probably getting a little bit emotional, seeing some versions of themselves that they maybe hadn't seen before, through listening to this kind of podcast and the topic that we're touching on this month.
Yeah.
But it's so important because, ultimately we want to live our best lives and become the best version of ourselves. And we want to achieve the most for ourselves that we possibly can. But you can only do that from a place of, I want to say wholeness, but of course you don't need to be whole to start, you don't have to be whole to be successful, but you want to feel that happiness inside. And I think so many people walk around and they are actually miserable, and they don't know why. And this is one of the reasons, is that they've got wounded masculine or feminine energy, wounded inner child, and it's never ever being addressed. They're never doing the inner work to actually fix themselves, to get them to that point where they can experience true happiness in their lives. And everybody's version of happiness is much like success, different for every single person. Nobody's version of success or happiness is going to be the same as somebody else's. And that's also why social media is so dangerous, is because we see everybody's lives in these beautiful
fake
carousels of pictures and reels and whatnot. Never mind the fact that most of it's got filters on all over the show. And I mean, now with AI, the AI pictures drive me insane. I love all the people that have been to Paris lately, through AI. But it's, you see, it's just so frustrating because, like I said, it creates a false
image.
Well, I'm rather going to say it creates an illusion.
Yes.
That is not practical or realistic. And I think even some people our age look at stuff and actually fall for it, and think that this is real. Oh, look at this. Like, no, please switch on your brain cells and just take another look and come back to reality. And I think, it's a sad state of affairs that people are so focused on social media.
Yeah, but I think it also depends on the attitude that they look at it in. I often find things like that inspiring. It's like, if they can, well, then I can. And good for them that they have gone to Paris, shall we say. Yeah. Even if it is true, yay, well done. Clap for them. Remember,
I mean, when it is really true, like, yay, amazing, and well done. But when you posting fake stuff on social media for who knows what reason, it makes no logical sense to me, because number one, you break yourself down. Why are you pretending to be somewhere that you're not, or be someone that you're not, or look like someone that you're not? Why?
Yeah, and I think, what I'm going to say it again, what I'm really loving about this series that you've kind of put together is that when I think back, and I know that I might not be physical, but I can feel the emotion. But it's so nice to actually suddenly have real life meanings or reasons as to why I have reacted to things or done things, or how I've run things and treated people or whatever. I probably have to go and apologize to some, but it is just, at least I now understand. And because I understand, and because I have a diagnosis, for lack of a better term, I can now make the changes. So I'm not going to get all harsh and icky on myself and, oh, you're such a terrible person. Look how wounded you are. You're no good, whatever. At least now I can say, okay, well, now I understand. So what can I do to fix it? What can I do to now regain that balance? So that's what I'm really enjoying about this. So thank you so, so much. Thank you. It really has been an eye-opener. It really has.
I think what's really nice as well is that when we started, I think one of the intro episodes that we did, we spoke about like how I bring myself back into my feminine. and the little rituals that I do. And I think that's also so important, is like to figure out what rituals bring you back to yourself and how you can, heal those wounds that are so at the forefront of your reactions um, and just how you live your life day to day.
Yeah, I think that's we must do that as an episode, is actual practical ways of how to heal, how
Come
to
back
bring
to
yourself back.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. And I had an Afrikaans teacher that always used to say, bring yourself towards yourself. And I think that's a direct translation from Afrikaans to English. But I always think it's so awesome. Bring yourself back towards yourself.
Yes. Don't lose control. Well, you can lose control on
Yes.
the feminine, but you understand what I mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think when you are, really aware of what you need in life and to achieve that happiness that we all crave, I think it's so much easier to have gratitude for everything that you have in your life, and to know that every day you're waking up and you're moving closer to that better version of yourself that you want to become.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and that's the main goal here, is to every day just focus on becoming a better version of yourself. You don't have to be perfect overnight. You're never going to be perfect. No one's perfect. But you want to keep growing into a better version of who you are and who you were meant to be.
Yes.
And I think those are the most important aspects for me in life, is just constantly evolving, becoming better every day and every month and
Yes.
every year.
So that we can
I
look
don't
back.
really do.
Mm.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't really do the resolution things.
No.
I just focus on each day working on becoming better. I have goals, I have aspirations, and I work towards them, but I don't put stupid timelines on things or say, well, from this day, I'm going to start doing this. I say, okay, I've got these habits. Let me try and work around responding differently. So if my habit, for example, is to respond hyper aggressively to things that offend me, how do I work around that to not be so triggered? How do I become a better person and how I deal with situations that trigger me? Does that make sense?
Take a breath, come back, and then you can handle it calmly. I've had to do that with emails from my ex-husband many times. Because those
I
trigger.
love it.
Those trigger.
We love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But I think that's also such a good point, is to understand what triggers you. What is it that sets your nervous system into overdrive, and how do you intercept that? Because we should be able to protect ourselves from our nervous systems crashing down. But we're never taught the tools. No one's ever sat with us and said, listen, these things are going to cause your nervous system to go off on a rampage. This is how you can counter that. No one teaches you. You just kind of, and I think it's so easy to spiral. And then you land up with the wounds.
Yes. No,
So
for sure. Yeah. No,
yeah.
it's been a goodie. So thank you again so much.
No, thank you, Ash.
Any closing thoughts or closing points?
I think I've said a lot. I think introspection is always my best advice, especially in this topic. It's very big, it's very broad. There's a lot to unpack, and I think just if listeners are feeling like they resonate with what we're discussing, I think just to do introspection, find a quiet space, do the introspection, do some journaling. Email us if you would like some inside information or some tips or tricks. And then Ash and I are both happy to help wherever we can and guide wherever we can. Obviously we're not professionals, but we've got life experience.
So much life experience.
And and I think it's just so important to have a community of women that can support each other.
Indeed, indeed. So yes, everybody, thank you so much for being part of our community. Invite your friends, let other women know that we're here, and bring them along. Let's make it the biggest tea party that we've ever experienced, let alone Boston Tea Party. We've got the Lux and Lens Tea Party. So tag friends, tag people, invite them to the podcast, and let's grow this community. Remember, we post the podcast goes live every Sunday evening at 7 o'clock. That's South African time, because we have got international listeners. I do know this. And we've got our YouTube channel where you can actually see us, and that goes live on a Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock. Hopefully once all the kiddies are in bed and tucked in and had their bedtime story read. So thank you again for being here. Reach out to us if you need to, like Courtney said, and we will see you in the next episode. Courts, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Ash. It was great chatting and catching up again.
Always, always. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for spending this time with us. Follow, subscribe, and share Lux and Lens with the woman who needs it. We're rising together. We'll see you next week. Bye.